BlueTech7753 sent me a video having to do with Section 255 of, I think that's an S.652 of the Telecommunications Act of 1996. In a nutshell, what that says is that cell phones need to be made accessible to people with disabilities. Now, if you wish to gain more information, I highly recommend that you take a look at my video, one of my favorited videos. This is the one BlueTech7753 sent me, so thank you, BlueTech. This has to do with accessible cell phones for people with vision loss. And I got to thinking about it. Believe it or not, the only manufacturer who has adhered to Section 255 without any issues is Apple. As of June 19th, 2009, Apple has completely complied with Section 255 because they have built in voiceover and they've built in things like being able to channel your stereo sound from your headset and putting it all into one channel in case you have trouble hearing in one ear. But the big thing we're going to focus on here is Section 255 as it pertains to people with vision loss. Again, Apple's the only company that I'm aware of to adhere to this out of the box. Why do I say out of the box? Well, here's the drill. A lot of cell phones that are not smartphones, okay? We're talking about just general, everyday cell phones. Like this. Okay? They have voice commands and they have audio prompts, but not everything is accessible. So that violates Section 255 because all features of the cell phone are supposed to be accessible according to 255. These vocal commands and vocal outputs on regular cell phones are not meant for the visually impaired. In fact, they are meant for people who are driving. They are meant for people who have hands-free kits in their cars. Once you get into the smartphone territory, then you do have some choice, but it's not cheap. Because the screen reading technology runs you about $300, magnification about $200, and the phone another $200, depending on what you get. And me being a tech buff, I'm usually interested in the top-of-the-line stuff, if it's reasonable. But anyway, so $700 out of the pocket for the same type of accessibility that Apple offers with the iPhone for $230 on contract, or excuse me, $200 on contract for 8 gigs, 300 for I'm sorry. It's 200 for 16 gigs, 300 for 32 gigs. VoiceOver is not built into the iPhone 3G because of hardware complications, with the 3G not being able to run it. However, with the 3GS, Apple have adhered to Section 255, which is that cell phones need to be made accessible with all features out of the box from the day you get it. For example, I go into the Apple Store. I was actually able to navigate to settings, accessibility, activate voiceover, and control the iPhone completely through speech. Okay? Through a speech interface. With a lot of phones, you cannot do that. Sure, you can make calls and add to the phone book and subtract from the phone book. You cannot go to the calendar, for instance, which is a shame because I'll have you know, this phone, were I to lose it, I would lose my daily calendar, along with all my class assignments. I am not kidding. I keep everything on my phone as far as my daily appointments and commitments. With the iPhone, I would have access to that were I to lose my vision completely. With Verizon, as it stands, I will not be able to adhere to such accessibility needs without having to go out of my way and purchase extra screen reading software, which, as we already discussed, is expensive. Now, granted, VoiceOver is not perfect, but as far as, for the price, for example, the Voyager was $350 on contract when it came out. $300 after a $50 mail-in rebate. Okay? The iPhone and it's only partially accessible. The iPhone can be $50 to $150 less than the Voyager, depending on where you get it. Excuse me, depending on what size you get in terms of capacity, and have infinite amount of times more accessibility, because with VoiceOver you get access to the following: a calendar, you get access to the phone book, you get access to the dial pad, you get access to voicemail, your visual voicemail, which can be controlled by flicking left and right through your voicemail and listening to it as you go. You know, just listen to what you want. You have access to your iPod. You have access to Safari. You even have access to some third-party applications like Dictionary.com. Out of the box for $230. Okay, that is the amount of money you could spend on a screen reader alone. In fact, that is less than you would have to spend on a screen reader alone in order to get the same amount of access from a Windows mobile device. And if you're talking about, you know, a phone that's not a smartphone, forget it. Forget it. Not everything is accessible on those. There was a phone from LG that Sprint carried a while back that did have everything accessible, but they upgraded the phone, and as a result they took away that accessibility. I think that was stupid. But at the moment, in terms of true out-of-the-box without having to purchase anything or configure anything, the iPhone is really the winner here in terms of out-of-the-box true full accessibility for people with vision loss. Now granted, like I said, not everything is perfect about VoiceOver. I think they should try to improve the keyboard a little bit. They should see about talking to developers to making more third-party applications accessible, particularly the visual ebooks. Audio ebooks are fine, but visual won't work. But the point is, it's 10 times more accessible than the average, you know, media feature phone, which the iPhone is actually targeting. It is a smartphone, but it's mostly for the multimedia market. So a lot of the feature phones that are only partially accessible, the iPhone can eat for breakfast because it is accessible out of the box, no issues. Now I think that a lot of companies are going to follow Apple's lead and start to adhere to Section 255. If not, then we've got a very serious problem. So guys, follow Apple's lead. See what you can do about building a screen reader into your phone, even if it's not a smartphone. Just do it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Comments are welcome. All insults against myself will have you blocked. I look forward to your input. Let me know what you think about this. And if you wish to, go to my favorites. The video is in there. It's basically called Accessibility on Hold. It's a video put together by the American Foundation for the Blind. It's a little bit old. It's 2005, but I still think the information holds true regardless for a lot of cell phones. Again, thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice evening.